Hey, everybody, welcome back to Conversations in Ken's Café. We have a special guest, a world recognizable name with Pat, because he was an MAA fighter and was, almost 4 years as a world champion. He's been around the world teaching, training, helping people. He was just at a special conference this past weekend. He only got back today. So if he yawns, give him a nod saying, yeah, we understand, but Pat, I don't want to go too much into your background other than give us a touch on your story and why you have created Soil Saviors and Cell Saviors.
Yeah, sure. And thanks for having me, Ken. I appreciate it. My story is I spent my entire childhood with respiratory illness, wanted to be great at sports, came from Bettendorf, Iowa, conveyor belt straight into Division I schools, a lot of professional athletes as well. But I just couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe my childhood and into high school and even college was having some problems. And I got tired of it. So I decided to stop listening to people who couldn't solve the problem. A lot of medical professionals, and decided to do research on my own. Collected, even back then, I was collecting old fitness books from the 1800s, functional fitness stuff, even power generation through old world ways, and health and agriculture stuff even. So I started asking homeopathic doctors, trying to find a direction. And I guess by the time I finished my research, I put together a protocol for myself with natural substances and took 10 days to heal my respiratory system. So it changed my life. It allowed me to become a world champion. It allowed me to create a lot of pay-per-view fighters, a lot of world champions, go into a life of broadcasting, working with law enforcement and military and high-level military. So ultimately, when I figured this out for myself and continued my research and got a real handle on really what was the problem with American health and certainly Canadians, was that I was obligated to share at least what I had learned over the years and try and help people. And it's been a great journey. It's been a great journey helping people.
Well, it's one of the best things when, people get it and you see that light in their eyes go, oh, now I understand that, this is what I need to do for my health. That's just a glowing feeling inside of yourself.
Yeah, it's fun to see the light bulb turn on in others, and it's amazing to get text messages, emails, and messages on social media where people go, "You changed my life, man. You changed my life for the better," and that's really what this is all about, right?
Well, exactly. It's about healing ourselves, healing the planet, because without this planet, we're not going to survive. Now, you started off with food. You put together a system that would work in your body. And I know you've worked with Dr. Will on a lot of this stuff for a long time. And you guys came up with a product called Soil Saviors. And I want to focus on that to start with, because we have to understand that the life starts in our soils, moves into the plants, the animals we consume, and that's how we can benefit our health. Like you said, you changed your diet and changed your life. So let's start with Soil Saviors. Why did you create this?
Well, Will had put together a lot of components from different parts of the world, and I was focused again, not just with food, but high grade substances. And sorry, I don't want to echo here. Am I echoing?
Oh no, you're not bad now.
Oh, okay. So the micronized nutrients of different. I guess we can say foods, berries, fruit, vegetables, things like that, and also colloidal. The silvers, the coppers, the other substances like that, and a diversity of things that I was using back then. Will was working on ag stuff. I dove into ag later, started to put together uh, products on that. But Will had a very solid line of products. And so, what, as we got to know each other better, I said, we have to simplify this for the masses. Uh,
Mhm.
it needs to be, here's a kit for your garden. Here's a kit, a box for your orchard. Here's a box for your hunting food plot to, you know, grow amazing nutrient dense food and a lot of it. And also, you know, get rid the soil and the plants of their toxins, right? Same thing with the
Right.
human body that we're focused on. So really, when we came together, he had been working on agriculture and as a homeopathic doctor, uh, a naturopath, and then me with athletes, world class athletes, and then tier one operators and things like that, and then the soil later meeting up. We're able to come together on a stage like we did this last weekend in North Carolina, and we can hit it from both sides, and then the crowd looks at us and goes, "We get it. Like we actually get it now." So that's
Yes.
kind of really what it comes down to is uh, it's we have the answers. We have the answers. 40 years each of us of research and testing and all those sort of things that coming together just creates it in stereo. Where if one of us is standing on stage, they might go, "Oh, this guy got punched in the head a lot. He doesn't know what he's talking about." And,
Yeah.
or Will is the crazy scientist and he doesn't know what he's talking about. But with us together and the proven results from agriculture, soil agriculture, honeybees, livestock, to humans, it's very difficult for folks to argue with us.
Well, you also have you're showing water saviors as well. So, I how do you mix that product with, pet saviors and bee saviors where, the getting into the water? Is it the same basic product or have you guys
No,
created
it's
separate
not. No,
products?
no, it's not all the same products, of course, but it's the highest quality for each, of course, right? So the concept of with soil of chelation or sequestration and then breaking toxins down,
Mhm,
nutrients, making them bioavailable, all those sort of things, where the human body, when we look at a cell that's full of synthetics and heavy metals that's having a lot of problems, and that's then systemic wide, sequestration and chelation is a little bit different. We'd like to pull as much of the heavy metals,
mhm.
inorganic metals, and synthetics out of the cell and replace it with colloid minerals, of course. But the balance of soil-borne probiotics that are incredible, um, are able to also break down through the enzymatic action any of the remaining toxins in the body and convert them into essential fatty acids and colloid minerals as well.
Mhm.
So it's the concept of understanding we are just part of the earth, the organism itself, and that the honeybees are the same, or they're just on the organism, they're part of the organism. So when we understand soil to human health, we understand that essentially all of our nutrients have to come from the soil. They have to be in the right form, pass through the plants and into the animals. The vitality has to move up that food chain. And once people understand this concept, it starts to, while it's supremely complex, and you know that from all your years of research, that the soil, real soil, is less understood than the entire universe. Um,
Yeah.
so it's supremely complex. But if we grasp onto the fundamentals and the basics, that we can change the environment and we can change it really fast for the better.
Well, and that's the thing, because it's all organic life is based on that cell division, and cell division is based on two basic things: the construction crew, which is biology, and then all the components that are necessary to build that healthy cell, and that is, created and moved to that cell by the biology, whether it's, mining from sand, silt, clay, organic material, or what we're consuming in our bodies, which hopefully is coming from healthy plants and animals, eating from the healthy plants.
Sure.
It all is based on that base of cells coming together to make an organism. And in your product that you've created, the missing minerals that are tied up in our soils or non-existent in our soils, plus the microbiology that is necessary to be there to mine these minerals to add them into the healthy cells. So where does this product come from?
Well, I mean, we source it from numerous places, not only around the country, but around the world.
Okay.
The collection of bacteria, mycelium, and the extremophiles are certainly a collection of diverse organisms that work amazingly well as a community from all kinds of different environments, so that they're capable of dealing with any environment they're put into. So when you put them into nature, whatever the problems are, whatever needs to be done, because microorganisms of this diversity have to create a pristine environment for themselves, and that's what they do in order, not with explosions of one or the other that causes, E. coli problems or any of those things. That
Yeah.
uh, they stay within the range that they need to, and only the ones that are needed will express themselves, right? So
Yeah.
that's the important part. And then the diversity of minerals from the ocean and the earth uh, are already bioavailable. We wanted bioavailable for big ag operations. You can put down large amounts of non-available mineralization, diversity of mineralization,
Yeah.
with a collection of this biology, and make it bioavailable at a very fast rate and grow huge crops, and of course very nutrient dense, that don't need pesticides and things. And I've got the fun part is I've got videos of one of the videos that I did was with a hunter who's been using glyphosate and NPK fertilizers for his food plots for 15, 17 years, I think it was. And he goes,
Yeah.
I've never seen, he goes, you got to come over. You got to film this. You got to come see this. It's on my Instagram. He goes, I don't have a single weed in my radishes and turnips and pumpkin patches. I didn't use a lick of glyphosate. You told me not to use any glyphosate. So you got to come see this. And sure enough, his radishes and turnips and everything are bigger than they've ever been. It's incredible, and not a single weed anywhere, just because the soil has the full-blown, mineralization that it needed, so that weeds didn't need to be there to heal the soil. Medicinal herbs, of course. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun when people see this in action, and they send me videos, they call me, they send me emails and go, we just can't keep the deer out of here. Stuff like that.
And the hunter's going, yeah.
Well, it's not, he deliberately treated food plots on the outskirts of his property.
Yeah.
And he's letting the deer have those, but he's had to put up scarecrows and noisemakers and all kinds of stuff around the other food plots near where he hunts, so the deer don't absolutely just destroy it. So it's cool. And animals are going to tell you, we're talking quarter acre spaces with 30 deer stacked on top. That's kind of cool to see.
Well, I know I like to call, weeds medicinal plants for the soil, because the soil and Mother Nature's going, look, we're missing, A, B, and C in this soil. And this weed, in the biology that interacts with that plant specifically, draws those nutrients up. Then that plant dies and it's put back in the soil. So basically, when you're adding everything that is necessary, those plants don't have to sprout. It's a beautiful thing to see. Now, you said that was on your Instagram.
Yeah, on my Instagram is my
I got it on screen.
Well, my Instagram is Soil Savior 1.
Oh, okay.
not my name. It's Soil Savior One. They locked me out of because I was speaking the truth so much about other, all kinds of different stuff.
Yes.
And
I
I'm not
understand.
political at all anymore. I have nothing to do with politics. I don't want anything to do with it. I want to do what's right for the environment, for children,
Yeah.
for health, that's all I care about right now. So the left and the right thing, that's gone. I
Yeah.
have to just focus on the mission, which is why I'm here in this
Mhm.
world. I'm not here to argue with people. I'm here to help people. So
And that's where we all really need to be, because in that argument, it's bringing our energy down, and we need positive energy and focusing on the soil, the biology, and helping people brings that positive energy up. And that's really what's needed globally, because this is a global problem, guys, that we're
yeah,
having. And I know you guys can ship to Canada, because I've ordered some stuff into Canada and it came through without any problems, other than your dollar is way above ours, so it costs me more. But that's just the way it is. But let's get back into, how do you spread it? Like, you've got a powder. What kind of things does it come as? So as a gardener, I want to put it in my soil. How do I spread it?
so it's again a collection of sea minerals, kelp, which has full mineralization. Also, it's got a very, very high grade humate. It's got um, the mycelium uh, collection. Uh,
Hmm.
you know, it's very diverse, and then the microbial collections as well are in different containers, and of course there's microbes in the nutrient bags as well. So um, you mix it in water. It's our smallest kit is a 0 to 5 acre kit, and
Hmm.
so you just have to do the math. If you've got 1/10 of an acre that you want to treat like a garden, well,
Right.
1/10 of an acre, that's 50 treatments in that one box, right? So I
Hmm.
recommend that people, I mean, what I did here in North Dakota was treat our gardens and orchards and things like that once a week because there was so much rain. It was biblical levels of rain. Everyone else's gardens died. I mean, almost
Yeah.
all of them. They got washed out, of nutrients and things like that. But I'm going to treat it once a week anyway. Uh, so I just did the normal treatments, and the more it rained, the more everything grew. I mean, it got so out of control. The gardens. That's the funny thing is that you'll end up having people call you and go, "Dude, my wife is yelling at me because there's cucumber plants growing up the side of my house onto the roof." It's you turn my backyard into a Jurassic. I had one guy, his dad, and he had competitions every year gardening, and he goes, "You got to come
Mhm.
see my garden." He goes, "The whole grid collapsed, and it's just like it's." He goes, "I have to build a stronger grid next year because of this stuff." All of that. So but yeah, the full diversity. We're looking for full diversity. How many minerals do we? And we ask this question to give away free stuff
Mhm.
of people. How many minerals do humans need? What is the number of minerals that we need? And it's 64 or even more.
Yeah.
Um, and then a full 90 plus of aminos and vitamins and minerals and all of that. But they've got to be in the right form. They have to be they have to be in the right form. They cannot come from, God bless them for trying, but you can't recreate what God creates. You can't do it.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not going to take something from a laboratory, a vitamin C, or anything, and put it in my body or my kids' bodies. And I'm not going to take rock dust that hasn't been digested by God's, piranhas, the microbes, the probiotics, and convert it into carbon bonded colloid minerals. I'm just not going to do that. So that's what we're dealing with. So I went way off into tangents, but so anyway.
That's okay. We allow that, Pat. Not a problem. Now, we do have a question from Farmer Cheryl. Is the product plant-based or animal-based?
Well, I mean, the microbes are living biological organisms. I mean, they are, a lot of them are, of course, what would be considered animal based, and then of course there's some plant based, but all the nutrients have been um, digested by plants, have been digested by microbes first, uptaken by plants, and then decomposed. For some of the humate comes from a 60,000-year-old sediment layer that is still uh, alive, technically, right? Not
Yeah.
fossilized. Others come from living, kelp beds. Others are mineral salts from the ocean that are not radiated, that are not toxified. So all of these things. So it's a diversity of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, like, people don't understand, it doesn't matter if it's a plant or an animal, it's all cells, which is all biology. So if you class biology as a living animal, then it doesn't matter what you eat, you're eating animals.
Sure.
It really,
Yeah.
it's mindset though, and we accept that mindset. Some people really don't want to, consume animals per se. But she had another question, and I don't know if you guys are certified. Can the product be used in certified organic farming?
Components of the product are, we still have to get a few other components, we'll just say that. But there's there's not a single chemical in any of our, no, it's all chemical. Look, if you wanted the organic labeling, I understand people that go with that. But when I'm shopping and I look at organic vegetables and things like that, do I really know what's been used on them for the most? Do I
Yeah,
know that they're fully mineralized? No, they're not. They're really not. So what I'm saying to you is if you want chemical-free food, this is what you use, right?
yeah,
Chemical-free, um, contaminant-free. That's what, you know. So this is I have very high standards. I had very high standards for, what I put in myself and my athletes, what I put in my children, who I mentioned before we started are all three incredible athletes. My middle daughter is just getting ready to do an Ironman.
cool.
I don't know how many humans are qualified to do Ironmans, but she is. And she came out of the water first out of all contestants. She was the first one out of the water in her first triathlon.
Cool.
And she's not a runner and a biker, and she still finished 10th behind two Olympians who she beat out of the water. And then my 12-year-old swims with the 18 and 19-year-olds on their swim club, which is a very high-level swim club. And then my oldest daughter is an All-American rower and swim coach at a university out east. So the proof's in the pudding. That's really what it comes down to. So
Yeah. Now, are you guys going to bother? Because, like, Rick says here, organic certification is kind of a joke because they're allowing so many chemicals in now.
yeah.
But they've stole the word organic. But are you guys going to get certified? So there's a lot of farmers that they have to have that on their farm before they can actually use it.
We may do it, and I'll be honest with you, why it's not a paramount thing for myself.
Mhm.
Although my partner Nick, one of my partners Nick, wants to do that, is that my mission. What I had this talk with Will and with Nick. I said, listen, number one, I don't want to go up against big ag. I have no time for that. We don't have the money for it. That's a system that has to run its course, and I think it is. I think we're seeing that system running
Yes.
its course and having its problems. But how can I most affect the most people and raise the consciousness level of society the fastest? There's 30 to 50 million gardeners in America alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so if I can change and get to those people and have them all growing massive amounts of nutrient dense food, or even 1 million of them, I've changed the paradigm. Hunters and environmentalists who want to change the land that living on, hunting on, all those sort of things, orchard owners, things like that, then I've done my part. I've done my part.
Mhm.
So, I've got friends, and Will works with big ag, some big ag folks that are making that transition. But I just know that to move the hearts and minds of America and Canada and the people of this world, it's showing them how this is done, and letting them see the results and taste the results. Because when you eat food that's grown this way, you'll never go back. You will never go back.
Well, Lily says one garden at a time, and
Mhm.
it's easy to get caught up in that big picture, where it doesn't matter if it's just one person. If I can save one person from drowning, I'm going to save one person, and if we all do it, then millions get saved.
Sure. Yeah. 100%. And Penny just asked, was he just at the Homesteaders Conference? Yes. Will and I were both there. Mariah was there as well. We taught a self-defense class as well.
Cool.
And the point that I was making with the folks that were there for learning self-defense, they were learning from other experts, former military experts on home and building, clearing and home safety and a lot of those other things. We have to make the distinction for people and help them understand the math of this. Ken, in America, we'll just use America as an example, that
Mhm.
20,000 people a year are murdered. And
Yeah.
usually that's by somebody that most of the time. A family argument or whatever, booze was involved or what, God knows what, right? Unfortunately. But 20,000 murders in America per year. Conversely, 650,000 people die a year just from heart disease.
Yeah.
And what is causing just that illness or kidney failure or respiratory issues or nervous system or digestive or any of the joint issues, the brain problems, all these things? From my perspective, my humble opinion, through observation, with a lot of research, that the environment is always causing the problems. The
Yeah.
water, the food, the air, and the medications and whatever else, the things that don't belong in the body, the synthetics, the heavy metals, other things, are causing massive amounts of problems. So, yes, I know how to take care of myself. There's not a whole lot of people walking the planet that are going to hurt me or be able to win unless they, sneak up behind me and shoot me or hit me with a bat in the back of the head, whatever, which could always happen. But their chances are very slim.
Yeah.
But I also recognize that the biggest culprit is the environment, and that I better protect myself and my family.
Yeah, and like Lily says, processed junk, I won't call it food. And now they're even putting, the chemicals in the food packaging, not just in the food, or they're saying it's organic, it doesn't have any chemicals, it doesn't have any preservatives, but it's in the blooming packaging now. They're trying really hard to make us sick so they can make more money. And what we're trying to do is make us healthy. So we don't care about if they make money or not. We just want to be healthy. It doesn't matter if you're a multi-trillionaire. If you're not
Mhm.
healthy and don't have a life to live because you're confined to bed or etc., that's not a life. It's that
Right.
health is the true wealth. But we've talked about the soil saviors, but that's only half of the thing that you guys are really talking about. Um, let's look at cell saviors. And a lot of the products, like the only one that's up right now is the fulvic humic colloid minerals mixture. But you've got a lot of other stuff that's coming up. But why are you guys pushing, two different sides of the envelope? You're starting with the soil, but also doing the human health. Why are you guys really focused like that?
Well, we want people to understand that while we're working on the environment, and they can assist us, they can join the Soil Saviors Army and fix
Mhm.
their corner of the world, right? Um, and put down the products and remineralize the soil and put biology back into the ground that used to be there.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we need to do our best to chelate the toxins out of the body, replace with colloid minerals, so that we're capable and healthy enough to continue doing this. That's the whole idea. The Hopi Rainbow Warrior prophecy was that people of all colors and nations would unite and heal the soil, right? And so the Hopi Indians and their prophecies are very powerful and actually coincide a lot with biblical talking about, healing a new earth, right?
Mhm.
And it's spoken about in different ways, but nonetheless, our job is to fix the earth, the environment, so that our children can have, the life that they deserve, and they do deserve it because, when we think through history, Ken, I could be angry at what they did to my great grandparents or my
Yeah.
grandparents or my parents, because I don't think on my mom's side, my grandparents did not fall for it. They did not fall for it. They
Okay.
stayed organic, all that sort of stuff. Um, on the other side, there was, when the Green Revolution started in the 70s and all of that, most people fell for it because it was more money, more land, bigger tractors, beautiful house, a new truck every 3 years. Human beings are just susceptible to that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I could be angry or I could just change things, right? And the whole generational abuse thing that's gone on in the world for thousands of years, probably. Well, that's our job to change that. We're supposed to break that chain and go back the other way with our
Mhm.
children. You know what I mean? So that's really what this is about. So the colloid, the fulvicumic, Cell Savior's fulvicumic acid is the best I've been able to find in 40 years.
Mhm.
And so if people want to remove as much of the environment that's harming them out of them and replace it with colloid minerals to allow them to start just having a better sense of being, better athletic performance, better flexibility, less inflammation, on and on and on. Uh, that's the tip of the spear. That's where you want to start.
Now, guys, we talk a lot plants on the show, and we talk a lot about foliar sprays, and your plants aren't healthy, so you do a foliar spray to supply the nutrients the plant needs. And you got Andy and I talk about the trees and foliar spraying the trees to bring them back to health
Yeah.
until you can get the soil fixed. This is basically a human foliar spray, only you're ingesting it, that brings you back to health. It keeps you well balanced and full of vitality until you can use the soil saviors to get your food you're growing yourself up to the standard. So
Right.
this is one way to look at it. And guys, if you're checking out these products and you use the link in the description, there's affiliate links down there, and if you order through those, that's going to help the channel out because we're going to make a few dollars here and there. So if you guys are thinking of purchasing these products, please use those affiliate links, and you can go to it's all about the biology.ca. They're on there on the recommended products page as well. But let's
It's
get back at
Yeah, and it's hard for people to understand. Even a huge number of people who think they're healthy and operating at optimum level don't understand what they're supposed to feel like and how they're supposed to operate. And I'll give you examples. Uh, my buddies who are ultra runners that I trained with for a couple of years, they're insane. They can run 100 miles in one day.
Yep.
I've my longest distance is 75 miles. But these guys in their 50s have been running marathons and ultras for decades. And when I did testing on them with the fulvicumic, they dropped their per mile times in their 50s by over a minute per
Wow.
mile, by over a minute per mile. And their heart rate, some of them went down 30 beats a minute. So they were doing much
Yeah.
more in their 50s, and their heart rate was going down. So you just can't accomplish those sort of things without some really amazing cellular activity happening. And then a guy that was fighting for a world title. I was commentating the fight, and he was a wrestler, not a striker. And he went out and stood up the entire 25 minutes with a guy who was a striker. And he looked so world-class and so different the whole fight, and was moving so much and so effortlessly. I can't even say it.
Effortless. I can't say it either.
Anyway, he was moving so well and so fast and so much that during the broadcast I was saying, I don't know if people understand how much energy is being consumed right now to move like this at this speed and this rate and stay this active. And after the fights, everybody went back to the hotel, and he came up to me and he pulled me aside and he goes, Mr. Miletich, I just wanted to tell you, he goes, I was on your product my entire fight camp. He goes, I didn't want to jinx myself. He goes, but this stuff's amazing. So he goes, he can't make himself tired now. Just because
fantastic.
He's burning oxygen efficiently. The colloids, all the energy for the mitochondria, it's just, it's cool to watch. It's really, and that's immune function. An athlete performing like that is pristine immune function, just like a grandma that wants to have the energy and not have the inflammation, so she can bend down and tie her shoes, so she can get up the stairs at home, so she can play with her grandkids. That's all immune function. All of it is, right?
Yeah. Rick is asking, and I'm not sure who David is, but do you know David?
I have never met David. He was at Leadville one year when I was out there. He was running. I'm not sure what he's using. I'm sure he's using some pretty high grade stuff. David's a unique cat. David's definitely a unique guy. One of the best in the world at ultra running, obviously. But I'm not sure. And there's a lot of professional athletes that are on these products, but I can't get them to endorse it because they don't want anybody to know what they're on.
Oh yeah, my secret. My secret.
It's job security,
Yeah.
And when I was using products and researching and then putting products into my athletes, coaches would ask them, fighters would ask them, and coaches would ask me, what's your team on? And I just go, you're never going to know. This is us making a living. We're going to be the best in the world because of what we do. We're not giving those trade secrets out, right? Our intellectual property is very important to us. But now I don't have a dog in the fight, so I can give that info out. So,
yep. Well, let's get back to another question from Farmer Cheryl here. How does the product help with pest management? And obviously, we're going back into the soil saviors. How often does it need to be applied for this, though, through foliar or soil drench?
It helps with pest control because the plants and the soil are fully mineralized and have diversity of microbes, and the plants then, through genetic expression, have their own immune system. So nature doesn't support sick plants or sick people or sick animals. You're going to create, that's how you get infections or massive weed growth, right? Or herbal growth. The insects coming in, or an infection in a human. That's nature trying to digest you and put you back in the ground where you belong and start over, right? Yeah. So it's simply through full mineralization and soil probiotics that the plants are able to protect themselves. They're not sending out signals saying, as Will puts it, they're not sending out signals saying, come eat me, I need to be eaten. So that's really what this is about.
Well, the healthier the plant is, and like you were saying, it does put out signals. They've scientifically proven this, but it's also the complex sugars, the complex carbohydrates can't be digested by the pests, where the lower ones can be. And the other thing is, how is an aphid eating? It's sticking its tongue through the cells to get to the nutrients it needs, where if the cells are so thick that it can't penetrate down into that, it's going, oh, I can't eat here, I can't survive here, next plant please. So sure. health. Yeah.
And plants are going to give off, certain enzymes that will make a bug sick, to eat
Yeah.
the leaves of a, to devour the leaves, for instance, of a tomato plant. Or like this area of North Dakota got absolutely infested
Mhm.
with Asian beetles. And I've got one on
Right.
my computer right now. They look like ladybugs, right? And they'll devour everything. They'll just go through and destroy people's gardens. But they're everywhere. Still to this day, right now, we've got them all over the place. I don't know how they're surviving in the cold, but the garden was fine. They were all over everything, but they weren't eating anything. And there's
Yeah.
bugs. You want bugs. You want diversity of life in your garden. You want all kinds of stuff going on in there. I haven't seen them since, in my gardens. I don't see them anywhere else hardly. The gigantic black and yellow garden spiders with the webs that are like 6 feet wide, and
Mhm.
the spiders are huge. They're in our garden. Salamanders, frogs, all kinds of stuff are out there. All the wildlife is here on this farm, as opposed to everywhere else. All the deer nest, or all the birds nest here in the spring because of
Mhm.
the frequency and the nutrients that are here and the life.
Yeah, biodiversity is one of the keys, and it's that circle of life, and it goes from the microbiology right up through into the higher life forms, your birds, your salamanders, your spiders, etc.,
Hmm.
into the size of whales, guys. Like
Yeah.
the health is vibrant nutrients. Life comes back when you have nutrient dense food for life to eat, and that's
Yeah.
what you want.
Right. And that's the thing is, mankind has done a great job of the materialistic view we have. Um, we have to pay our bills. There's people that live off grid and don't have
Mhm.
bills and aren't connected to the system at all, and all those things. God bless them. They figured it out. But I can't live like that and affect the rest of the world. So I have to do my best to ride that rail. They call it dancing with the devil, just enough to get the job done, right?
Yep.
I'm never stepping into his side, but you got to put your toe over there a little bit just to get the job done, right? So for me, that's what it's about. It's about helping just as many people understand, and
Mhm.
if we educate enough people, we don't have a job.
And I would love to not have a job and just relax for the rest of my days and be healthy.
Right. And you think about if we were able to heal the environment, which we're going to do eventually,
Yep.
might not happen in our lifetime, but we're affecting a lot of children. We're affecting a lot of people who are educating their children, things like that. Um, Organ trafficking goes away. The organ market goes away.
Mhm.
Human trafficking goes dive bombs, because you can't run a nation or a world on fear and trauma when people are super healthy and spiritually connected, right?
Yeah.
You just can't do it. You can't do it. So when people aren't sick, they don't need organs,
Yep.
right? They live to 120 years and fall over, whatever. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Well, and it's amazing how everything can literally fit together. We make everybody healthy, and a lot of the corporations that are making us sick aren't going to survive because they have no way to make money. So maybe they'll start changing to be something better. There's always a better way, and it's all about what you are going to do. Like, right beside me right here, it says one lit candle can light many without ever diminishing its own light. And
Yes.
Pat is definitely a lit candle. Will too.
Well, and here Rick Easley asked, I want to see how this product does in my electroculture garden. And that's awesome that Rick's doing that. Just remember this. The whole idea is, I don't know how many people, and people can comment, have seen auras around people, right?
Mhm.
So people that have auras are emanating it's what I would call almost like a force field. Um, if we're full of heavy metals, synthetic chemicals, things like that in our cells, we are an antenna for the 5G, the AM, the FM, the radar, all these frequencies. That's just the way it is. That's a fact.
Yeah.
If we chelate the harmful elements out of our cells and out of our bodies, and we replace them with colloid carbon bonded minerals and real biology, we become an antenna for the Earth's frequency, right? The Schumann resonance. And that's proven. It's proven. So the idea with the electroculture garden is to pull energy out of the atmosphere, right? Well, when your plants have full mineralization with the right minerals in the right form, and it's a living soil that's creating vitality up into the plants, well, they become their own antenna for the healing resonance of the earth, right? So we're creating, every plant is an electroculture device. And so I had one farmer who, he was sandbagging on me, and he owns, and I won't say his name because he probably wants to sandbag on the rest of his customers and everything. He doesn't want people to know fully what he understands. But he and I were talking, and I said to him, he was giving a lecture out in a cornfield to a bunch of agronomists, and he was trying to help them understand biological, right? The biological side of things and why it's so important. And while he was talking, the aura was, I kid you not, Ken, like 4 feet off of him, all the way around him.
Yeah.
And he's always smiles. His energy's very powerful. And I said, after the lecture, when we were standing by ourselves, I said, I saw an amazing aura around you while you were giving the lecture. And he goes, that's interesting. He goes, have you ever seen an aura around a garden or crops? And I said, I've noticed a few, like orchard trees. I've seen auras around them and stuff. And he goes, okay. He goes, you're in tune. You see what I'm talking about. Yeah. So there's, and he's a guy that deals with, a lot of agronomists across the country, across the Midwest, across the West, vegetable gardeners to corn, soybeans, all of that. And he is doing his best as well to help people along to move towards a real food system. He's doing his best, and he's got to make money, and he's got to keep people in big enough yields to keep them viable, right? But it's a gradual thing for him. So,
well, and that's the thing where there's a lot of people that are sharing, and I tell people, listen to many voices and find the ones that resonate with you, and then follow those voices. And really, if you can see that aura, you can see that energy, if it's coming from their voice, you can feel the passion in their voice for what they're doing. Those are the types of people you really want to listen to, because it's not just about, I'm going to make a ton of money if I put this chorus out there. It's about, I'm helping people, and I'm enjoying doing it.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, because I'm focused on questions, because I want to answer a question. Farmer Cheryl asked, what is the source of the fulvic acid and humic acids? What are the drawbacks of using them? So I'll give a quick course on just fulvic, I guess, where they come from and all of that. So great question, Cheryl. So fulvic humic acids, are could be decomposed plant matter that's a week old, all the way up to millions of years old, right? Could be veins of soft coal, leonardite, could be dead seafloor beds. So all of them have a lot of minerals for the most part, high mineral concentrations. The problem is fossilized versions, and even peat bog derived, which is what I prefer, certainly for humans and animals, is because they're bioavailable. They're already bioavailable. But they'll use hydrochloric acids to remove the fulvic humic from the shale, the dead seafloor bed, even the peat that comes from a peat bog. That's not what we do. We don't do that. The reason we don't do that is because, one, the hydrochloric acid and other chemicals are toxic. Two, you throw the biology, if it exists at that sediment layer, into such a tizzy that nature is going to fight back, and you'll get an explosion of bacteria to digest the chemicals and break them down. that's just nature fighting back. And so then they have to pasteurize it and cook it and kill it. And so it's denatured, right? So we use natural processes with our humates that come from peat bogs, natural filtration that removes the fulvic humic. That way the biology stays in balance, a pristine, perfect balance of the soil-borne probiotics. And then it's flash frozen under extreme pressure and suspended in time, so to speak. So when you put that back in water and spray your plants with it as one of the components of the program, it creates massive amounts of genetic expression in the plants just by itself. We've had tests done on the components of all the components of the program, and the yields and Brix ratings and all those things just by themselves have been through the roof. So so that's why we do that. I'm not going to put it in my kids, right? It always goes back to what am I willing to put in my kids? Now, if I'm putting something in soil, I can use a diversity of mineralization that's not bioavailable because I'm going to pound it with a lot of diversity of microbes to digest it and break it down for the plants and make it bioavailable. And that's when it, obviously creates vitality and immune function for the soil and the plants. So there you go.
Well, and that's the key is, having that extra biology in there, because it doesn't matter what the molecule is. Mother Nature has already developed species of biology that can break it down to its core components. What we're missing is the biology that is necessary to do that. And Terry just came up with a question. I haven't even had a chance to read it yet. I thought Brix was sugar content.
Sugars and salts, yes. But mineralization, that's nutrients, all of those things, genetic expression in a plant to create the high Brix ratings. That's what that's about. And that's what makes that fruit or vegetable resistant to frost, resistant to bugs, all these different elements that protect it, right?
Without the mineralization, you can't have the complex sugars, so you can't have the higher Brix rating. That's why Andy and I did a show on Brix. I think it was just this past week where we were talking about that. You need both. You need the molecules of the micronutrients, and there's 97 out there that is really necessary, and then you need the biology to use those to build these cells, put them together. So it's a combination of everything. But I want to keep it at an hour with you today, Pat, and we can always have you back on more. Yeah. But I also wanted to talk about your setup as a private members association.
Yeah, PMA.
A lot of people have never really heard of that. I have personally. Yeah. But I'd like you to explain why you went this way and what the benefits are for your customers.
Well, we're a private membership association based on an ecclesiastical trust, right? Because we don't work with synthetics, we don't work with man-made products, we work with nature. We work with what was created by our creator and nature. This is the message we want to send. And no matter what your belief is, I've had a couple of people who go, well, I believe in Jesus, and you don't mention Jesus in there and I go, listen, dude, I follow Jesus. You gotta slow down a second, and you gotta understand that we are acknowledging that there is a creator. That's a big point that I want to get across to people, that we were created by something very powerful, much more powerful than us. And that we are using the tools he's given us, the downloads he's given us. And we want people to understand that our relationship with them is based on that. And that anybody who comes into the PMA with us is entering into an agreement with us in private, not in public, right? Because we have to protect ourselves from the entities that don't care for the creator and don't care for the folks doing the work of the creator, right? So that's what this is about. Yeah. So it's and we've had people go, I don't feel comfortable signing it. 99% of everybody goes, I got no problem with that. I have no problem with
Yeah.
it. So that's really what it's about.
Well, and it really it's a protection for us as well as someone that's buying it, understanding that, the entities that we don't like can't interfere with this. And I think that's a key people need to understand is those entities that, are damaging us can't interfere in this product and manipulate things to their benefit. So not only is Pat and his crew protected, but us as, the purchaser is also protected as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then it says, does Soil Savers have, the diversity of fungi? So this is a collection of fungi that is created. The mycelium diversity is created by a gentleman who is half Hopi Indian, actually, in the Four Corners region. And it is the most diverse and it's when you see mycelium growing on pine needles in his piles and stuff, like he knows what he's doing, right? So it's got a very, and there's types of mycelium that are in there that only exist through the Hopi tribe and his product. So
Yeah, exactly.
I've installed just the mycelium in people's gardens and land, and the network underneath. If you, like at the end of the season, pull a garden plan out, the network in there it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Oh, it's the computer system of life on this planet, and
it
all needs to be connected. So, Terry, yes. So brick is the ultimate for a plant if you're measuring for just sugars. But if you get to the point where you can look at it and see that vibrant green, and then all of a sudden you can look at it sideways and you see a little glow, that's when the ultimate for the plant is, because it's showing you its aura.
Yeah. And just single components of the Soil Saviors box in testing against the control and things like that. Up to 800% higher bricks ratings. So
and that's amazing. And Super Nessa, who is an indigenous out of Canada, northern or southern Ontario, peace pipes up, sending smoke signals to the creator. And exactly, we can all connect. Like, I use source because it's really the source of all life, and our physical forms are just that, physical forms. That aura, that energy, that's us. That's who we truly are. We're not these physical forms. Like, I get sick, I get hurt. That's not who I am. The energy, the love, the joy, the happiness, that's who I am. And that's where the creator made us. He made these physical forms, which are more biology than human per se. But this energy, that is the creator.
Yeah. And it's funny, Penny said it's kosher boron then. So here's crazy though. I was contacted by a guy, tribal member out of Alaska, and he does a lot of big contracts for Middle East, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Israel, stuff like that. And he goes, these folks over there want, halal, very high grade halal meat and kosher meat. What can you guys do for us? And I'll be honest with you, when I got done talking to them, you could see, and the guy said to me, he goes, there's a lot to chew here. There's a lot to digest. I'm going to have to get back to you, because he's like, he'd never heard any of what I talk about, right? I mean, you and I are holding the conversation. We understand exactly what we're talking about. But a lot of these guys who are, even in the regenerative world, are going, dude, what are you talking about? And that doesn't mean I know. It doesn't mean I know more. I just took a different path with different people. That's all.
Well, and being able to explain it to different people in a language they can understand is a gift, Pat, believe me. So super. No, I haven't seen your SAP process on IG. If you got it figured out, brother, you got to come onto the channel and explain it in depth to us. To let you know, Pat, Super Nessa draws sap out of a multitude of different trees. So the heart of the earth, he's bringing that up in the sap, and he uses that in his growing environment and has amazing results.
Okay, very cool. Yeah. So I'll get back to you on I mean the diversity of the fungi. It has it's got so many different types of fungi in there. I need to dig into the details on that, but I'm sure I I would bet $100 bill that it does. So
Yeah. And remember, it's all about diversity, and the more diversity, the more options you're giving the plant. It's going to grab the ones that it needs, and if you're only focused on one,
yeah,
then you're
right.
you're really narrowing the path of development that you can
Yeah.
possibly
Like
have.
I said, when you I would say more than most people, I understand fungi. I can say that.
Mhm.
But I'm a bacteria guy, I'm an archaea guy, I'm a mineral guy, all of those components more so. My expert out in the four corners, like I said, when you pull a plant up out of the ground or open the ground up, the network is you've never seen anything like it. It is
Yeah.
full. And that, the thing is there's a gentleman, Alan, I'm going to have on my podcast, and I need to have you on, Ken, as well. But he's actually created a device for a two-way communication with mycelium.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's very powerful stuff. So I'm looking forward. He's a quantum guy, so he
Hmm.
understands quantum technology, but he also understands the soil pretty well, and it's some pretty interesting stuff. So where we got into a little bit of a rub was where he said, "Well, I can talk to the mycelium and tell them to send more of this nutrient over here." And I go, "But mycelium already knows how to do that." So you don't need to tell it. If it's got the nutrients, it'll send it over. So yeah.
Well, and that's what most people don't understand is in those networks, you can think of them as super highways, but something that's being produced 100 yards away that's needed for the plant in front of you can be moved through that network, and it's understood, easily understood. The plants have seven senses. We got, well, they actually have more than seven, but we have, what, six if we count, the woo woo side of things. Um, they know more than we do, people. We just have to help them get back in touch with it all. And that's where Soil Saviors is coming from. That's where Cell Saviors is coming from. And Pat, we're over an hour. I like to keep these shows around that hour mark. And
Okay.
we can definitely we'll have you back on. I know we're gonna have you back on with Leighton because you guys had a way out there conversation. It was amazing. But thank you so much for coming, Pat.
No, thank you. And Squishy Mirror, um, I like Rootwise and Photo Plus along with labs. Here's what I'd love Squishy Mirror to do if he wants to do the labs and do some of the research on it. If that's something he or she does, yeah, I'd like to get you some product one way or another. Ken and I can connect, or you can connect me with them, Ken, and we can figure that out.
Yeah.
For them to do some tests and watch the mycelium installment go wild. So
That would be amazing. Squishy, if you want to make that happen, it's all about the biology at gmail.com. Send me your information and I'll hook you up with Pat. But guys, remember, tomorrow, Andy and I are talking about compost. Thursday, we've got Chiropractic Exexy. The ladies are back on talking to us again. And on Friday, I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now, but there's a new chorus that's coming out with lots of very exciting speakers. You're going to want to check that one out on Friday. And guys, we love you all. Thank you so much for coming, and we will see you again soon.